Hello everyone, welcome. I'm Robert, and today I want to discuss and rank these games that you see right here. These are the very popular dungeon crawlers slash adventuring games by Gnome Games. And they all have a core mechanic in common, and it's the exploration deck where you typically draw two and you have to resolve one, or if you don't like it, resolve the other card, usually to worse effect. So they all do some variation of that mechanic, and they also bring their own spin, like a different theme, for example. And they all also include some kind of character creation element. So I've had a chance to play all of these extensively, and I want to help you decide maybe which game is the best for you if you don't want to buy all of them or if you want to buy them in a certain order. So I want to give you some ideas as to what I think the priorities should be. So currently, these are all arranged in release date order, but I'm gonna put them all away and then start putting them back in my rankings. So my criteria for how I'm gonna rank them is basically how likely is that game to hit the table, and if I were to start over, in which order I would buy them. So without further ado, let's get started. Starting at number 5, we have Tin Helm. Now, this is a great game, don't get me wrong. It was the first super portable tin version of this system, and I've had my great fun with it. Now, the thing is, the reason why I rank it fifth is one, I think some of the other games that I discuss later improve on this formula a lot. And also, because I don't travel a lot, the portable aspect of it is not a big selling point to me. And in fact, because of the portable limitations, it increases the fiddliness factor of it. The biggest one being that the rulebooks come in these cards, okay, instead of a spine bound booklet. Which I honestly just find really annoying every time that I have to read the rulebook like this. And as I mentioned in my Dustrunner review, I think it would just be an easy solution if the publisher just offered a plain text like PDF or Word file of the rulebook. So this is a consistent complaint that I have across the board for all of the tin games in this list. But still, don't get me wrong, all of the highlights from what makes this formula great are still contained here, and it's still a worthy addition to this series of games. And I also want to point out that I really love the aesthetic in this title because there's definitely an improvement in Jason's drawing from this point, and also the fact that it's in all stark black and white. The game just looks beautiful. Love it. Next, we have Desolate, and this is my print and play copy. And this was my start in this series of games, and I absolutely fell in love with this game when I first played it. And there's a couple reasons why. One, it's so easy to learn, right? So I put this in my top 20 intro solo board games. Actually, it was my number one from that list, from my top 20 solo introductory solo board games list. So I'll leave a link to that if you're interested. But so this is really easy to print and play because you can just print in black and white, right? It doesn't have a high ink requirement, thanks to the fact that it's in all black and white. So it's a great print and play if you want to introduce people to print and play games, but also a great intro solo game because the rules are so simple. It's just one page, front and back. That's it. It's just fantastic. Okay. And yeah, so this honestly for me, it's a bit more likely to hit the table than a tin realm, and it doesn't have the constraints of a tin game. Okay, but as you'll see later in the list, some of the iterations in this formula really do improve it and make it more interesting. Okay, so this has an edge over tin realm because of it's easier to learn because it's just a front and back rulebook page rather than the tiny cards, and also it's a bit simpler mechanically. But the heart of this formula, which is where it all started, it's still here. It's still fun. It still has that satisfying gameplay loop. And when you add the expansions, which I added the first couple in my print and play copy, it improves it a lot, and it just adds tons of replayability. So this is still a great quick dungeon crawler romp in space. So to me, this holds up really well. Still a great worthy addition to the formula. That's Desolate. Next, we have Tin Realm. So this was my most recent acquisition, and I shot an individual review for this. If you want to check it out, I'll leave a link. But the reason why I rank it ahead of this is because this really improves on the formula because of its matching icon mechanic. Okay, so the exploration deck here has these half icons on each card, where after you resolve a card, you have to put it on either side of a panorama. Okay, and you have your meeple advanced in the map when you match the icons. Okay, and it adds a bit of decision making without adding pretty much any rules overhead at all. And I just think it works so well. And it transcends Tin Realm in the sense that not only does it compact the Iron Helm formula in portable form really well, it also offers a fantastic overland adventure experience in this format, which really makes it stand out from Tin Helm, and in my opinion, makes it superior. The only reason why I'd probably pick this over Tin Helm is if you prefer the dungeon crawling theme rather than the overland adventure. But in my opinion, the goal of moving the character forward in the trail in order to win, rather than collecting shards in Tin Helm, makes it more interesting. But yeah, I think it's a great iteration of the formula. I honestly think it's still hampered down by the portable format when it comes to the practicality of it. Again, I don't travel a lot, so not much of a reason for me to play this over other titles, other than the fact that it's a overland adventure. The art is still gorgeous, and yeah, unfortunately, the rules are still a bit of a pain to go through because they come in the tiny card forms rather than a booklet. But yeah, that's Tin Realm, my number 3 in the list. And if you want to hear my extended thoughts, go ahead and check out my video review. Moving on at number 2, we have Dustrunner. So I have a full playthrough and review of this if you want to check it out, which I'll link. But one of the reasons why I think this works so well and it's such a great iteration of this formula is because it forgoes dice for combat in favor of this resolution deck. Okay, so this resolution deck is used to determine many things, like how much extra health the enemy gains, how much damage they deal, how much damage you deal, how much loot you gain. So because you're not rolling dice, it reduces the fiddliness and it just makes it snappy, okay? Which lends itself really well for this portable format where usually perhaps you're gonna be limited in time, okay? And I love the Mad Max / cyberpunk theme that it has going on. And while I love the black and white look, I think the cyan and magenta colors here just work so well. And this is some of the best art from Jason that I have seen. And also it is just so much fun, as you can see in my playthrough if you want to check it out. It's just so tense with the chase element. So the way that it reworks the formula into a car chase is just fantastic. And I'm really excited for the upcoming expansion. And yeah, I'm much more likely to play this over the other titles in this list by a long mile, pun intended. And that's definitely in big part, again, thanks to the fact that it uses this resolution deck instead of dice for combat. You have no idea how much that speeds up the game. So yeah, that's Dustrunner, my number 2 in the list. And finally, at number 1, we have Iron Helm, one of my favorite solo board games of all time, period, and it has consistently made it to my top 20. So yeah, thankfully, this game is not restricted by any tin format woes, and it is simply addicting, okay? As I mentioned in other lists of mine, the first time I played it, it didn't really click. I ended up trading it, but then I downloaded the PNP and gave it another shot, and I absolutely fell in love, which made me buy it a third time with all expansions. Now, there is one flaw with this game, and is that the base game by itself is a bit weaker in comparison to this, okay? For the amount of money that you're paying, I feel that you get a bit less money's worth than most of the other titles, but it does become exponentially better with expansions. So if you do decide to get it, I suggest that you get as much content as possible. If you want the easiest expansions to integrate, I suggest the Loot and Lore pack, which I'll put up on screen. because I don't have the booster pack anymore. And then you also have the dungeon deck number 2. That's very easy to implement as well. I have not gotten around to trying this just yet. Okay, I need to give that a shot. But there's also these dungeon expansions that basically expand beyond when you play a game. You can then go on to a more difficult dungeon. So you have these booster packs that give you level 2 difficulty dungeons, and then you have level 3 difficulty dungeons. Okay, so you could just buy a one level 2 dungeon and then a level 3 dungeon. Now, each of these dungeon expansions also add more characters, more loot. So there's stuff that you can just integrate into the base game. But yeah, for the dungeon expansions, you're not gonna be able to experience that in the first play. You're gonna have to play a game and then move on to dungeon number 2 and then dungeon number 3. And then you have the more esoteric expansion like the fanny pack, but then you also have the iron chest, and that adds a whole lot to just the base game if you want to experience that. But I can't personally vouch for the content from Iron Chest yet because I haven't gotten around to trying it. But I did see how it works mechanically. I read about it and it sounds really fun. It is super, super random though, okay? It just adds more randomness, but it sounds really fun, so I'm looking forward to trying that. But yeah, this game definitely has a really addicting quality to it once it clicks. And do keep in mind that there are some people that these series of games, they don't do much for them. They are very random, to keep that in mind, okay? But I am on the side where I do find them extremely entertaining, okay? And I have had a ton of fun with Iron Helm and its dungeon expansions. I've not even touched the Howling Abyss and the Iron Chest content yet. I do need to give that a spin. But yeah, folks, this is definitely the order in which I would buy all the content, okay? And one thing I forgot to mention is that these two are almost interchangeable. I had a bit of a hard time figuring out how to rank these two. Tin Realm is just such a good iteration of the formula that I had to give it the edge, but that portable format, that's just a detriment to me. But I really like Desolate because of its simplicity, okay? And its black and white sci-fi look is just delightful. And it's a very easy print and play game to do, especially if you use sleeves. If you don't want to do the card backs, just use black and white sleeves like I did. It'll save you time. And yeah, not to mention that all of these have print and play files. But honestly, folks, other than Desolate, I honestly would not recommend it unless you enjoy that activity. I had a phase where I did enjoy it, but not anymore. I'd rather just pay the money for the full game. Print and plays of this scale take a lot of time, and it just drove me nuts at some point. But yeah, folks, that's how I would rank them. And what do you think? How would you rank them? Please let me know in the comment section. And if you have any other comments, questions, feedback, go ahead and put them in the comment section. And if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.